Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen joining us from India and around the world. My name is Eric Malice. I am delighted to welcome you all to the SMAARC August 2020 web event. We are gathered here to talk about SMAARC, which is the Smart Manufacturing with AI, AR, and Robotics Consortium. And today we have a webinar for our virtual panel discussion on the changing trends in the manufacturing industry and how manufacturers must prepare to adopt the manufacturing's new normal in a post-COVID world. And, you know, I don't even know if we should say post-COVID world, because COVID is becoming the new normal in sort of a mid-COVID world, but hopefully we'll be overcoming that at least in stages and adapt to it in ways that we can all grow in terms of our health and economic prosperity. So my name is Eric Malice. I am an advisor to Lincode. I am also an attorney, founding partner of Talus Partners. We specialize in helping early stage companies from formation through exit. I am a professor. I teach a course in entrepreneurship at Menlo College. I've worked in the government, in the White House in the Obama years, the State Department, and for a number of federal judges, as well as for various law firms. I've run accelerator programs for startups and am generally pretty involved in the startup community. I am joining you here from Silicon Valley, California right now. I know most of you are dialing in from India, so glad to have everyone from around the world. What we're going to do, we have about an hour today. The agenda is that we're going to kick things off with Rajesh Iyengar, who is the founder and CEO of Lincode, as well as the founder and orchestrator behind SMAARC. He's going to talk a little bit about SMAARC and Lincode and get things going for the day. And then we're going to have a panel discussion. We've got fantastic panelists in the industry, people who are really experts in the field at the cutting edge of what's going on around the manufacturing sector, who have a lot of experience with what's happening right now with COVID and how companies are adapting. Then we will, I'll be moderating that discussion, and we'll have some questions that we've prepared in advance. And we're also going to open up the questions to the audience. So on your Zoom application, you'll see there's a place for audience Q&A. You can post a question there, and we will be reviewing some of those questions. Then I will present some of them to the panelists toward the end of the panel discussion. Then we will finalize things with Mr. Srinath, who will be giving our thank you note. So with that, I would like to hand things over to my dear friend, Mr. Rajesh Iyengar.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric. Thanks everyone for joining today, and also for the panelists who have accepted our invite in the last moment. So thank you so much for that. So we started the SMAARC community majorly for addressing the smart manufacturing industry, where there's lots happening, and some of our customers kept telling that they don't know what to choose and how do they go about. And some people said that smart manufacturing, it's going to be cumbersome and very difficult for deploying in their factory premises. And that is where we took up this challenge, saying why smart manufacturing has to be expensive or cumbersome to deploy. It should be seamless and easy for the factories to adopt to the smart factoring and changing digital transformation technologies, basically. So primarily SMAARC is created for the community, by the community. So we are not, Lincode is not just a player in this. So we welcome everybody to be participating in SMAARC community and help address challenges for manufacturers to transform into digital technologies, basically. So I would stop here, and a little bit about Lincode. So we are an AI company. So we specialize in automating the visual inspection side of things for manufacturers. So we help identify defects to very high precise points using AI technology. So we are headquartered in Menlo Park. Eric is our CMO, and we started in 2017. So we are going to be 3 years in September 14. That's about us. Thank you so much again for joining, everybody. I'll leave it to the great panel to start with their introduction, and then I think we can carry on from there. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rajesh. So we've got 4 fantastic panelists with us. I will allow each of you to introduce yourself, starting with Mr. Sanjay Sharma, Director of AI4M Technology.
Good morning, everyone, and good evening and good afternoon. Depends on where you are. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk about in these, these very, I would say, interesting and very, very tough times for a lot of people. So my background is I'm somebody who's been in the manufacturing industry for almost 30 years. A lot of it in the automation. Worked for Rockwell for 25 years, and for last 10 years or so, have been helping companies adopt new technologies for manufacturing operations. Presently, working with companies to see how they can select the right technologies for their present situations or challenges. So love to be here. Would love to talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Next, we have Veeresh Patil, Digital Transformation Head at Mann-Hummel, Germany. Mr. Patil?
Hey all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, hey all. So myself, Veeresh Patil, I'm working in Germany, Mann-Hummel. So basically, I'm coming from the background from the processing. So I have a 15 years experience in the automotive technologies, and I've been working for a long time in automotive industry, especially for taking care of processing and lean manufacturing, everything and all. So it is very important looking into the future production, because manufacturing is somewhere related to the digital networking, because everything what and all we produce, it has to be very smart and very informative and with the data gathering. So here in this, what I would like to say is that as on we go in the future of manufacturing, it's also important that we carry on the digital transformation, so that we can be digitally transformed and we can be more smart and productive and more intuitive in the manufacturing, so that we can adopt the latest technology. So I'm taking care of a lot of IoT topics, like use case topics, which can be helping the production technologies to improve the best practices, so that we can improve the efficiencies in the production. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Next, we have Vikas Anwikar, Product Marketing Manager, Vision Technology, Balmer, India.
Hello, everyone, and good morning to all of you. It's been pleasure being a part of this excellent panel, and thank you for this opportunity given to me. I have about 20 years of experience into the industrial automation domain, spanning from project management, marketing, sales, and product marketing management. And we are basically into vision-based cameras, I mean machine vision cameras, which help these AI-based technologies, or the quality inspection methodologies. So we basically are a sensor company, and we provide solutions in these IoT and AI domain. So yeah, I'm delighted to be a part of this panel. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And then finally, we have Mr. Srinath K, VP of Mac, Machine Tools and Automation.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining this webinar and giving us an opportunity to share some perspectives here. My background, I've been for a very long time in the automation industry, serving manufacturing, largely manufacturing companies. And then in the last 4 years, I'm actually working to enable medium-sized companies to grow with strategy as well as execution, and also bringing in some new technologies into them in terms of scaling them up, and in terms of making sure they understand the emerging space of technologies, and then enabling them to deliver solutions to the manufacturing companies again. And in that process, I've kind of learning a lot of new ideas and new thoughts that are still coming in terms of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, IoT, AR, and I've kind of worked at least in a couple of projects with each one of these, and learning in that process. So I'm looking to share what I know and learn what you all can teach us in this forum as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I would like everyone to join me in a warm virtual round of applause for welcoming our panelists here. And without further ado, we will kick things off. This first question I have is for Mr. Sanjay. As we're going to be talking a lot tonight about different areas in manufacturing where COVID's really making an impact, why don't you start us off talking about the primary challenges in the manufacturing workforce due to the impacts of COVID-19?
Yeah, so I think very interesting question, Eric. I think one of the major things which happened with this disruption which happened is that it's actually people centric. So, most of the impact happened on how people were interacting with each other and how they were kind of, going to their workplace. Now, in places like India, for instance, there's a lot of migration which happened long back from places which didn't have industries and to the places which had industries. So there's a lot of skilled labor which came in from different geographies. Now, when this sudden disruption happened, a lot of people went back to their home place, their hometowns, and the reverse migration took place. Now, that took away a lot of critical skills from these manufacturing areas. So that's one big challenge. Uh, when is it going to get normal? None of us really know. So that's one big challenge we're facing. The other thing is, I think the availability of people, and I think the predictability of their availability tomorrow at a short notice, people kind of not coming to work because of a scare or because of a real health problem. That's become a new thing to deal with. And the third one is, of course, the density of people which you could have on the manufacturing floor. You can't afford to do that anymore because of the social distancing norm which you need to follow, and which is extremely important for making sure you are running an organization which is a healthy workplace. So I think these are the major challenges which we are facing. I'm saying, and the most important part is that wherever you had more human, human requirement, that is where you're feeling the crunch, and we are feeling the gap of available people. So it's a challenge, and I think some of the people are finding very creative ways to take care of it. And I think we'll talk about how people are taking care of them, I think, as we go along. But that's the challenge. I feel, I see my friends from companies, my friends who are running these companies. So that's what they tell me right now.
That was great. So, what I heard from that is you talked about really three key elements. One, there's this dispersed skilled labor force where people have returned home. Second, the inavailability of workers on short notice, either due to the fear of COVID-19 or actual legitimate medical issues. And then third, social distancing and how that's actually going to require different physical parameters within the manufacturing workspace. So let me ask you a follow-up question to that.
Sure.
Can I pick just one of those three and say what you mentioned that some companies are looking at creative solutions. What's an example of a kind of creative solution that you've seen companies begin to adopt to address at least one of those three critical problems?
So I think 2 months back, I talked to somebody who had restarted his factory because he had to take care of his production capabilities. And what he told me was that, Sanjay, what we are doing is we are actually looking at areas which we can automate, and where we can, without much upfront capital investment and any major changes, do a little bit of automation which can fill these gaps between the human, wherever we need people, can we do with less people? So they've already started to think of how they can run their operations with less people. And then the next question which he said was that we can't replace just the lowest skill. We also have to skill some of the higher skill guys. So the two areas which came up very clearly was material handling, and second was looked like something which they talked about, quality inspection, because they said these are two areas we could possibly, they're looking at quick adoption of automated solutions. So that's what I thought. And one of the key criteria was that they're looking at something which is ready to use and not something which requires a lot of infrastructure work, skill upgrade and all that. So those are things people are looking at. They're looking at ready to use point solutions which they can just plug into where the human, they could reduce and work with less number of people.
Excellent. So really, you're looking at automation and augmented skills, particularly around material handling and quality inspection. So let me open up this question now to other members of the panel. Building off of what Mr. Sanjay talked about in terms of some of the primary challenges, does anyone have anything to add in terms of either additional challenges or some other similar solutions that you've seen companies begin to adopt in order to combat dispersed skilled labor, the scarce and fear about being back at work, and social distancing requirements around manufacturing equipment?
Yeah, perhaps I can just add to what Mr. Sanjay said. One more important aspect of it is that all these companies are forced to work with a very limited workforce, and also the equipments that they are having, they are also forced to run those equipments in a very limited capacity. So, for example, if they are having 4 manufacturing lines of a particular product, so they are forced to run only 2 out of them. So it is very important that all the machines and all the equipments are running to their fullest capacity. I mean that the uptime of those machines and equipments is very important. So real-time condition monitoring technologies or techniques have to be adopted, and process monitoring is also an important aspect which the manufacturing companies would like to go for. And of course, as Mr. Sanjay also mentioned about the upskilling. So as the automation would grow in the industry, the current workforce may not be equipped enough to handle those automated equipments. So this is another challenge that is posed, that once the automation is brought into onto the lines, it is the workforce also should be equally capable and competent to handle those equipments.
So let me ask you a follow-up question. I want to stick on this point you said about real-time equipment monitoring and process monitoring. Right? These kind of technologies have been around for some time, and it's been an important issue that's becoming increasingly important year after year. What would you say specifically with COVID-19 and the impact that we're seeing with the workforce and the need for automation? Are there any specific aspects of real-time equipment monitoring or process monitoring that you think are more important now than ever before, that companies should really be thinking about, if they're behind the curve, what to prioritize, and if they're already on that curve, how to leverage new technologies to stay efficient and lean?
I can explain this point through some examples. For example, by condition monitoring, what we perceive is that the sensors would be mounted on the machines and they would monitor the vibrations and whatever, and give the feedback to the IoT systems, and then the alarms would be generated and so on and so forth. But moving forward, because of this manpower crunch, if we can call it, one operator is forced to look after multiple machines, say a battery of machines. Okay. Now that kind of situation is kind of uncommon in India, because normally it is because of the low labor costs. Normally one machine is being operated by one operator, and then there are several operators along the line. Now, since we have very few operators, one operator has to look after, say, about 8 machines or 10 machines. So there could be instances or events wherein a machine remains unattended for quite a long time. So advanced vision systems type of technologies may be deployed, which monitor the operation of the machine in real time, and it can also record the instances if there is any kind of an untoward incident. Let me give you an example also. For example, if there is a robotic loading and unloading of components onto a CNC machine. Now, of course, this is a manless operation and doesn't require an operator to be present there. But if this operation is recorded and monitored continuously, if there is anything which is going wrong, if the component is not being gripped properly, so such kind of events could be captured using camera technologies and the advanced analytics. Another important aspect over here is since a person is forced to operate several machines, there are possibilities that the operator is not equally knowing that machine as good as the regular operator. So the sequence of operations what he performs on that machine need also to be monitored and analyzed. For example, the sequence of keys that he presses on the machine. So if there is a predetermined sequence which is taught to the software, and it monitors the actions of an operator, it can immediately generate an alarm when there is a wrong key being pressed by the operator, and the untoward accident or incident could be avoided. So the whatever machines that are operating, it is important that those machines operate fully with their capacity, and there are no breakdowns happening because of non-monitoring of these equipments.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Next question I have is for Mr. Veeresh Patil. So I want to drill down a little bit deeper, if we can, into the major impacts that COVID is having in production operations, quality inspection, and manual material handling. Can you comment on that in terms of specifically, how are you actually seeing these areas being affected, and what should manufacturing companies be primarily concerned about?
Yeah, thanks. As you see, the quality inspection in the production is equally important, and also for the logistics. So if you see the material handling is a big topic today in today's era, because in material handling there are a lot of points which is coming up. We need a skilled labor so that the right materials to be picked from the right position and placed in the right place. So when we don't have a skilled employees, it is really going to be very difficult, because we, in most of the places, we still use the old technologies, and we don't have the latest technology like a pick by voice or augmented support for the picking of the parts, or we don't have a smart scanner technology, we don't have RFID technology. So it's going to be very much difficult when we don't have a skilled employees, and it's going to be challenging, because a lot of companies are facing this problem at today. And also, it's very important that a right part to be shipped on the right position on the right time, because we need to meet the demand for production. And if you see for the quality is very important for as well, because end of the day, whatever you produce, the quality has to be maintained in a well way. Because it's again, when you don't maintain the quality, the wrong products will go to the customer, and definitely we will have a claims. And in this, because of this thing, the bad remarks will come to the company. And it's always important that whatever we produce, we have to make sure that these products are produced in the right way, and everything to be mounted on this, and that it is shipped in the right way to the customer. So for me, it is important that we have a skilled labor, and also for the inspection, and also for the material handling. If you don't have a skilled labor, what are the problems which is happening in the quality inspection is like, okay, there are new employees coming up, because it's a COVID situation. A lot of employees have been laid off. A lot of people have went back to the home, and the demand is increasing, and we hire the employees on the temporary basis. When you hire the employee on the temporary basis, it is very important that you train the employees. You make sure that they're understanding whole training of the process, and they make the perfect inspection for the process. And this is really a big challenge, because they have to inspect 8 hours a product and different products, and they have to check the same product multiple times. And even though the new employees are coming and making the inspection, for one instance, the usual inspection can only be 85% right, and 15% will be always a deviation, because it's a human inspection. That's the reason in this situation, it is always important that we use the visual inspection, a camera inspection or AI inspection, which can make 100% inspection right, and we don't have any lagging behind it. So it is always good to have a new technologies when this kind of a situations come, that we are depending more and more employees. And it's also very good. Sometimes it is really bad for the industry, because some of the things cannot be completely depend on the employees. We have to have a smart technologies, a plug-in technologies, which can reduce the human effort. So as you see, if you ask me what are the really good technologies at the moment, what we're using is the plug and play technologies, because a lot of companies are really believing in plug and play, because this is going to be reducing the effort for the big companies. And it is very easy to install, and it is easy to program, and it is easy to inspect. So this kind of a technologies can really easy the production. It might be in terms of inspection, or might be in material handling, because in the material handling, we have smart scanners, which is the hand glove scanners. We have ultra wideband technologies. We have RFID technologies. We do have pick by voice technologies. We have AI glasses technologies. So these all the new technologies, which is really tremendously helpful for the industries, even though we doesn't have the skilled employees. These technologies, we can use it and make sure that all the process being maintained and given the 100% best quality.
So that's great. Follow-up question to you on that. You talked a lot about the need for skilled employees, and you also talked about, with new technology, plug and play technologies and visual inspection, how it's so important. So how should manufacturing companies think about what it means to be a skilled employee in this new world, where we have this increasing need and value added from these kind of technologies of automation and visual inspection? In other words, when it comes to skilled employees, what are the types of skills that manufacturers should really be looking for, and how does the term skilled employee, how is that shifting in the new world where we're becoming more and more interconnected with automation?
Yeah. So skilled employee. So just imagine an employee has been working on the particular product for a long time. That means he's been prospectively looking for one product, and he's always taking care of this production. Example, he's producing a product and he's working on this production line probably more than 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, and he's been really expert in this process. He's been only doing the same repetitive job whole time, and he know in and out of the problems, because if any problems comes, and he know what is the problem and because of what this problem is arising. So if you look into any problems, okay, this problem is coming from this process, okay, how you know how to handle it. So, and this employee is working on the same process for a long time, and he know exactly in and out of the process. That's the reason he is called a skilled employee. It's just imagine in this place, we put a new employee, and he doesn't know how to manufacture. He don't know how to assemble it. He don't know how the problems are arising. He don't know how to fix the problems. In this case, this is a big problem that we are always depending on the skilled employee. The guy who's working on the same line for a pretty long time, he is very much skilled in this process. And the companies today, we are more dependent on the skilled employees, because he know the process, he can handle it better than the new employees. But it's always a risky for the companies. When we depend on too much of skilled employees due to illness or due to the COVID situations or due to many things, the production will go down. So it is always important that we don't depend on skilled employees more and more. We depend on the digital technologies, which can help any employee to become a skilled, because we have a visual guided instruction. There are a lot of companies providing a really good solution that any new employee comes to the machine, he can have a visual guided instruction. He has a visual guided videos that he can look into that, and he can make the processing, okay, he can do it really better than that. We have a virtual reality technologies that we can make employees to make a training online by using the virtual reality technologies, that he can make a real-time job by wearing the virtual realities, and he can learn by doing it. And also, there are some technologies that employee, when the new employee comes to the production, we have a vision technologies that visions will guide them what he has to assemble and how he has to go. Even though he does the mistake, the system has the capability to stop the employee. Hey, you did the mistake, you have to correct the process. Then he will go back and correct the process, and he go for further. So this is the main benefit, that having the new technology over the skilled employees. And today's industry, nobody is like, all the companies are not completely hiring the employees for the full time, because when the demand is go up, we will have the employees on the temporary basis for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. And it is really difficult in this short time. We train them and we make sure that deploy in the production line. So in this case, it is always to have good to have technologies which is a self constraining for us, that okay, the employee is not making the mistake, and if he make a mistake, it can be the machine, the technology can stop him and make sure, okay, he's doing the right process.
Really good points there about, you know, what companies are looking for when it comes to skilled employees and how that's changing. And just to echo that point you landed on at the end, that it's important to have reliable technology such that when there are these ups and downs in the workforce with these various issues that are arising because of COVID, that we actually have, you know, consistent innovation and automation. With that, I want to ask the next question for Mr. Srinath. How should manufacturers think about the need for automation in this new normal? And what kind of changes can we expect to see in the global automation landscape? For example, do you think that COVID is going to increase the need for companies to want to automate? And if so, where do you see that really happening in particular?
Sure. So what I observe, and this is primarily based on the feedbacks that we receive, we are a systems integration company. So we kind of get all the problems which are not solved and which are needed to be solved at these times coming to us. And if let's look at all the kind of requests which is coming, they're all evolving based on the specific challenges the manufacturing companies are going through. So to give an example, when the manufacturing restarted, the first question they had is they didn't stop the plant with a very planned shutdown, right? So they had to shut down the plants as per the government norms very quickly. And then their concern was, are we ready to start the plant? Are all the machines going to work? Is everything updated and working well? And that's where the services started coming in as the first need for people to go and support the customers to start up their plants. The second level is when the plant started, the bigger concern came about the all new norms that are there for us to follow, the hygiene practices, the PPE, the social distancing requirement. And then this question came, how are we going to make sure that all of these are complied with? And I'll tell you, automation can be so innovative. In fact, when I walk into plants these days, you actually see a sanitizer which is automatically dispensing sanitizing liquid, right? You don't want to touch. And they're automated most of their doors which are opening. Earlier, it was all hand operated doors because you don't want any contacts as much as possible. So at a fundamental level, the automation is coming into those spaces which we never imagined should be a need to automate at all, because what's a big deal about it? Look at the attendance system. Today, you can't use a biometric attendance system. You really need a contactless attendance system. What do you do about it? So some of the challenges suddenly became a need for automation at a fundamental level to start the operations of the plant. And then as you started operating the plant, there are a variety of industries which are almost like 60, 70, 80% of their original demand before the COVID times. Now, what do you do? For example, let me take an example of a two-wheeler industry. The demand has gone up for two-wheelers just because the personal mobility is the way to de-risk yourself. So all the two-wheeler companies across India is now running full 3 shifts production, and they have absolutely no dearth of orders to produce. Talk about pharmaceuticals, talk about consumer package, the companies who are making food, which are ready to eat food, they're all bustling with activities in their manufacturing. Then the question came, oh, now my God, now we have a lot of demand. How are we going to make sure the plants are not going to shut down because of a risk in the plant? Then the question comes, how do I mitigate all the risks that I have in my plant for stopping my plant? What automation do I do for that? So there is a lot of opportunity here to address automation as the customers are learning and evolving. What are their needs? Interestingly, innovation comes in very, very effectively here. Many companies are trying to innovate now at this time more than ever in solving customers' problems specific to their needs. So this is the key word. Automation in the past used to be thought as a big project. They used to plan the project for 6 months and they think about it. What is the ROI? And then start doing all of that. That's gone. That world has changed. Now we're talking about agile automation. Can I solve this problem in the next 7 days? Can I really look at specific problems that I need to solve, which is holding me back or risking my operations quick enough? That is the speed. And some of the speakers talked about plug and play, ease of use. Everything plugs into that one single thing, which how can I get everything implemented quickly, running, specific, because we don't want to wait for too long. Because every wait means either there's a disruption in your plant operations and the productivity, or there is a disruption in terms of the risk that you're taking because you will stop the plants. So these are some of the primary reasons and the driving force behind automation. And it's an interesting thing that I heard. There's a famous joke going on, who accelerated digital transformation in a factory, CEO, CTO, COVID, and most people say it's COVID, right? So what has changed is the need for automation to be seen at every point where there is a need for it, and quickly transform it and start building on it. So a lot of activities in that space, Eric, and I think some of the panelists said about all of these as well.
Points there about the need for agile automation and reducing the time horizon with which we solve problems to something like 7 days. We're all talking a lot about the need for automation and the need for skilled labor. Next question I would have would be for Mr. Vikas. Do you think that all manufacturing sectors need new technological advancements in order to counter workforce crunch, or are there certain sectors that are really more ripe than others for technological and automation advancements? You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, so in my opinion, of course, as Mr. Srinath said, that the automation is, it's kind of coming closer and closer to, it's not about any specific industry or any specific domain of people, but general across all the industries are adopting the automation technologies now. And it is the need of the hour that Without automation, it is difficult to sustain and compete in the market. So I think this this question of whether to adopt new technologies, it is going to come. Sooner or later, everyone will have to adopt these technologies. For example, some of the big manufacturers in the automotive domain already have, since long, they have installed flexible manufacturing systems, FMS systems, where there is hardly only one operator operating all the machines. But slowly and steadily, these new technologies like the AI, as they become more and more affordable and easy to use, easy to deploy, faster turnaround of projects, this is going to come being adopted by all the industries. And all the manufacturers, all the technology providers, they are striving, they are also doing all their research and development towards a wider adaptability and usability of technology across all the industries.
Next question I have is for Mr. Sanjay. So we're talking a lot about manufacturing, but let's take a step back and think about the different partnerships involved in the entire manufacturing landscape, specifically around the supply chain. Can you speak a little bit about how you see COVID impacting supply chain and what types of AI or other advancements might be relevant to helping supply chain work more effectively?
I think interesting question. And I think one of the key things which is happening is actually a disruption of the supply chain. I think that's happened big time already. And, you know, the reason for that is being, I think, multiple reasons. I think there was one, of course, a knee-jerk reaction to what happened. There is geopolitical issues. There are countries which have stopped buying from other countries. So people are looking at other solutions. And another, I think, major thing which is changing is the consumer behavior. So my demand is changing, and people are now today buying more personalized product because they're buying more online. People are buying cars online. If they have to buy a car online, they can customize it. So we are going to a point where the batch sizes and variants are becoming, you know, much more. Batch sizes are becoming smaller. So now I have to find people, you know, supply from people who can give me at short notice these specific parts I need for a new variant. So I think there is a big change happening. So when you're looking at, you know, new supply points or new suppliers, one of the things which you need is agility. You need people to be having agility and also to be having an assurance that what they're making is absolutely transparent to you. They have certain systems which are easily adaptable for doing especially quality inspection, and you know, being able to give you an assurance that every time they produce something, it meets your quality requirements. So I think there is a big change happening on that because of the traditional sizes of you know, production batches is changing and the variability is changing. So big opportunity for a lot of the smaller companies to have the agility and, you know, adopt the right technology to be able to become candidate for new candidate for supplies to these large companies. So, you know, there's a big change happening.
Yeah, absolutely. When you compare the, you know, smaller companies and larger companies and talk about disruption, and we look at different industries, right? Smaller size industries versus larger size industries, there's different competitive forces at play and different barriers to entry. How do you think the size of an industry sector will impact the ability for companies to disrupt the supply chain?
So I think the size is, you know, traditionally is the factor of your agility. Okay, so size decides agility widely. You know, it's the other way around. So normally a smaller, you know, in a times like this where, you know, everything is unpredictable, everything is happening in shorter time periods. You know, things were earlier quarter by quarter. Today, I think things happen week by week. A smaller company, I think, has a higher chance of being successful, being able to adapt. And, you know, one of the things which I you know, heard from everybody here is the evolution of these new technologies which are self-adapting. So it's the technologies which will adapt and help these small guys to quickly being able to take care of this varying demand which they have from their customers. So the smaller companies have a bigger chance of success clearly in the present new, you know, new, I would say the new world.
You know, when we're talking about disruption and, you know, the ability to be agile, ultimately it comes down to value add that different partners can have on each other. So next question would be for Mr. Patil. When we're thinking about value add and really around the financial side of things. How do you think what would be the justification for companies looking at increasing revenue versus decreasing revenue, but maybe decreasing expenses in order to find efficiencies around gross margin and profits? And how should companies think about leveraging new technologies of scale and automation when looking at ways that they can impact their bottom line in their business? You're on mute, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been always a big challenge for the companies to look into the business model which is going on, because some companies are very small and some companies are really big, and it's always important that which company is going to adopt which technologies, because it is not the technology is not the must, it's a need for the latest technology because of all the companies, because as the companies all the production is changing and all the technology is changing. It's always important for all the companies who are in the market, they should gradually adopt the latest technologies for their production groups. And it is important that we also look into which technology is really making sense for our productivity, because there are a lot of technologies available in the market, and there are a lot of technologies which can also use it, because some of the technologies are really expensive and some of the technologies are really low cost. And it depends what the demand driven actually, what exactly calls for a technology that we need to invest on, what is the technology that which can really bring a revenue on, and what is the technology that really helps to make our customer demand a really good way, the technology which help us to increase the efficiency. So we have to think on which technology is better suitable for our requirement, and we just need to make sure that this technology has to be implemented in our industries. And if you see, there are a lot of companies which cannot be able to invest on the latest technology, and because these companies are maybe a small startup companies and they're thinking of investing on this technology, because it makes sense, because all the technology which is available in the market, which is having a solution from the low cost until the high cost. And these technologies are, as you go on further and further, the cost is going to be go slow and slow and slow, and it's easy for them to adopt this technology for their firms. Yeah.
Good point. Let's drill into that a little deeper. So you talked about different technologies and looking at what's going to be responsive to consumer demand and what's going to really impact the bottom line. In your experience, are there any technologies that you've seen to be really effective that you're excited about, or that you think will be trending up over the next 12 months?
Yeah, of course. So what I could see at the moment is there are three technologies which is really going to be very booming up in the upcoming days, which I could see the first is a robot and cobot industry, because the cobots are going to be in the future, because if I see in 2021 and 22, we can hear that the industry of the robot and cobot will be around 22 billion. That means most of the companies are gradually transforming into the robotics, because a lot of jobs which humans cannot do it, this can be done by the robots and cobots, because there are a lot of jobs in the industry which is repetitive, and this can be efficiently and more quickly done by the robots. And if you see in many of the industries, the robots are gradually taking place, and a lot of employees are getting replaced with the robots. And there are a lot of instances that robots are working hand in hand with the employees, because they feel, okay, instead of working with 2 or 3 people, let's work with one robot and one employee, that they can do a really better job. So this is going to be a really good industry for upcoming. And if you see the vision industry to be expected around 20 billion in 21, 22, because it is going to be very, very upcoming, because we've been using the vision for a pretty long time. But it is important that how vision is used for today, because previously for everybody had an imagination, okay, vision system we use for only machine vision. Okay, we put the cameras in the machine, okay, machine make an inspection, then everything is done. But this is not the case. Today, we also need a vision inspection also for the manual people, because employees are making the assemblies, and who will make sure that, okay, what exactly is doing is right or wrong. So this is also going to be changing gradually. And we have artificial intelligence. So this is really a better add-on for the vision inspection, because you know what artificial intelligence means, it is adding some of the intelligence, like human-like intelligence, exactly to the machine or the controlling system of the vision system that human cannot think of, that machines can think of. There is a study says that the artificial intelligence can perform more better and faster than the humans today. That means we have implemented the artificial intelligence in so intuitive way that it can make the difference between the good and bad or anything else what we can think of, and it is more faster and quicker way. So this vision industry is going to be really a big booming industry. And I see the supply chain, AI supply chain. This is going to be the third booming industry which I can foresee, because how beautifully this AI is supporting the supply chain is that because we have a predictive demand calculation software. That means just imagine if you want to make a one finished product, you need hundreds of small child parts. And it's always important that you need a one person who will make a planning. Okay, this product is coming from this supplier, this product is coming from this supplier, this is the delivery time of this much, transportation time is this much. It's really hard that to calculate each and everything, make an order. But this smart tools, the AI tool, can make sure when you have a demand, you have a quality demand, okay, then automatically it makes the ordering process to different suppliers on different intervals and make sure that this all reaching on the right time to us so that we can produce all the parts to the customer needs. And this is going to be really very good. And forecasting, if you see, forecasting is so beautiful in supply chain that AI can take over, because in today's COVID situation, we can see a lot of products being ordered and a lot of products not being ordered. It's because which we see the sanitizers are the most consumed things. So if you see on online or anywhere else, so this AI supply chain would make automatic demand forecasting for you that, okay, which is moving fast and which is moving slow. So it makes sure that, okay, this product is moving fast. Okay, let's produce this product more than double the numbers. That means it makes the forecasting that this is moving fast and what it's going to show the trend for next 1 year. Okay, the demand of this product is going to be more. So in this case, we can have a lot of production costs down. And also it's important that in the warehouse and logistics, we need to store this product. So in this case, we can ship a lot of products in the container and we can store in the particular location. Due to this, we can say thousands of gallons of diesel, because we don't ship a limited quantity. We can ship the high quantity and we can store it over there. So we have a lot of repetitive black work in the robot process automation, because we do a lot of repetitive work in the logistics that can be made automation again. So smart delivery, nearest delivery. When you order something by Amazon or DHL, so it will look into the nearest delivery location for the employee to reach in the fastest way. If you deliver something, you see your product will be delivered in so and so date. How do you know this thing? This all the artificial intelligence in supply chain, because it will calculate where is the product, how distant it is, how far it is, how long it does take, how it is reached, is it reaching to the right customer on the right time, everything calculated by artificial intelligence. So I feel these are the three important things which is going to be very booming up in the coming years.
Yeah, Rick.
Really great points there in terms of, robots and cobots and the new development in terms of how, people are working with them, vision, inspection, both fully automated system as well as assistance with manual inspection system, and then finally AI supply chain and storage. Really great points there. I think Mr. Srinath, you have something to add to what was just said?
Yeah, I just want to support that idea that came up I'll tell you how we realized that is, India went into lockdown somewhere around 24th of March. The whole of April was a shutdown month for most of the companies in India. But you would be very surprised. The few orders that actually came in those times of April were related to AI vision and collaborative robots. Both of these spaces we actually work on. So customers were, our customers were preparing, and I would say the collaborative robo and the AI vision was more to prepare for the startup operations. And they found this is the best time to invest on these technologies and deploy it, for the simple reason that the plants are not working anymore. And it's the best time to go and upgrade some of these facilities and keep it ready when the plants come back to operations. So that's the view that is taken. Now, interestingly, there's one more possibility around this, and how companies can accelerate this is, while there is a lot of opportunity, because if you're talking about a Kobo, if you have to do 10, 15 Kobo, then you really have a cash crunch and a revenue crunch right now because of the cash crunch, right? So you don't have too much of a strong cash flow situation, most companies. So how do you actually, we also can think, and I think this will be the time when there is going to be one more opportunity for companies who are offering solutions to disrupt the market. We are used to selling CapEx, whether it is a collaborative robo, whether it's a vision solution, or everything goes on a CapEx model. I think the future is going to be on a subscription. And the future is here, because this situation, if you're able to innovate and offer certain products and solutions in the form of a OPEX or a revenue expense, which is monthly paid or quarterly paid, I think the acceleration will happen much faster. And we're seeing certain test cases that we tried, and it is really true. So if I'm able to offer a solution on a monthly rental basis, the customers are able to take decisions because they need it this month. They can't delay it for another 1 year to find the capital to invest on. And they will go right away. And they will keep that solution for definitely the period that it's adding value. So there are definite opportunities for companies to really help other companies to accelerate this kind of a movement to automate and to make it more popular.
In terms of, the needs for cash and really realizing, value quickly in terms of where there can be improvements. And one of the consistent themes that's come up a lot today is around machine vision and visual inspection. So next question would be for Mr. Vikas. What would you say are the upcoming trends in machine vision and visual inspection that will impact manufacturing? And how are the camera technologies evolving to improve artificial intelligence in the manufacturing space? Mr. Anwakar, please.
Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting question. So since so many panelists spoke very well about the machine vision, so I come from that industry, of course. So this machine vision technology is going through a very dynamics right now. So you, on one hand, you have smart cameras, you have standard machine vision technologies which take care of standard applications. And then there's this new AI that is coming up, which is kind of augmenting the whole process of machine vision inspection, which is making the inspection much more reliable. So, but I would say that now, because of this COVID, there are a lot of new things that the manufacturing has discovered that I would broadly term it as computer vision than just restricting it to machine vision. So primarily there are three major use cases, or you can say that three major technologies that the vision would offer to the manufacturing. Of course, the first one being the AI in the inspection domain in the machine vision, where the standard machine vision algorithms tend to fail. Especially these applications are like the surface inspection type of applications, which are the biggest concern for the industries like textiles or plastics, printing and packaging, steel industry. So here it is more important that the machine vision industrial cameras deliver good quality images so that the defect or the feature that they want to inspect is identifiable. So a lot of research is being done in this domain in the industrial camera, and all the manufacturers are working towards improving the technology so that they can augment this AI-based inspection. Second important technology that is coming up is with the embedded vision. So Mr. Patil also spoke about wearables this Microsoft's HoloLens is not new now. So using these devices where the vision is embedded in the smart glasses, where the operators can actually see, and there is somebody who can guide them how this process is being done, especially with the unskilled laborers. And it is also helping in a lot of remote diagnosis of breakdowns. So this is how also how vision and AI is helping the manufacturing industry. Third vision application goes with the surveillance cameras. So we've been seeing CCTV cameras all over the manufacturing plants. Now AI has been an added component to these cameras. where the AI-based softwares and technologies can ensure that the social distancing is being taken care of, and with added thermal cameras in those surveillance cameras, they can also identify whether a person is having fever or not. So in this way, the camera industry per se is helping the AI engine overall for the manufacturing. From the machine vision perspective, I would say that there are several advancements that are going on in the industry, especially how the cameras can be made much more efficient, how they can be made more fast, not compromising with the image quality. So day in, day out, the sensor manufacturers for the cameras are developing new sensors so that the images that are required are not so heavy for the processing devices. Then by the advent of the single board computers, thanks to people like NVIDIA who have come up with so many new technologies which help these AI-based machine vision applications a lot. And the purpose of machine vision cameras here would be to reduce the CPU load to the maximum extent possible. So there are new products that are coming up which have got FPGAs and the processing devices within the camera itself, so that some kind of image pre-processing can happen on the camera level itself, or even to an extent image processing can happen on the camera level itself. Complex AI-based image processings can happen on the camera level itself, and it can also help in cloud-based image processing technologies, where cloud-based AI technologies. So it is definitely on a trajectory, on an upward curve now, and in next year or two, the industry would find that there are a lot more new technologies that have come up into the market.
Sure. And by the way, I've been interjecting a few audience questions as we've been going, but now we only have a couple minutes left. I want to get a couple last audience questions. One comes from Mr. Krishna. Automation is an expected reaction to mitigate shortfalls in the workplace. But what happens if and when the workforce is going to come back? How should companies be thinking about automation and workforce as a long-term strategy, particularly bearing in mind the image of the company as it looks to be employing people and growing its workforce? This question is for anyone, and let's try to keep really short. This is the lightning round now with short answers.
So I'll kind of take that question. And I think one of the key things to understand is that automation is not there to replace human being. The automation today is actually to enhance human capability to do things more in a more agile way, to do it more consistently, and to do it more with less fatigue. So it's actually not a replacement for human being. It's just making it easier for less number of people to do more things and the same person achieve more. So I think so especially with AI and with the present technologies, I think the direction is that the automation is not a replacement, but it is something which is going to enhance every labor, their productivity. And I think being able to adapt to the varying demand much faster and much better. So it's a basic capability enhancement.
Excellent. Next question. In terms of operations working that are unmanned, with more automation, it's still important that the different machinery is maintained well. And in normal conditions, an operator would watch this sort of equipment. But as many factories are not yet built with large-scale automation in mind and are beginning to adapt to it, how would you address this issue of monitoring the equipment from a holistic perspective in order to ensure that the automation is successful? Anyone?
So again, this is Srinath. I just think that the monitoring has to have a purpose. The first definition is, why do you want to monitor a machine? And that defines how do we monitor it. So if it is for understanding as to when it is going to break down before it breaks down, then you have sensors to put in, like what Vikas talked, condition monitoring is monitored continuously. Interestingly, there are some challenges today in the market that there are equipments produced by OEMs, but they need inspection before they're dispatched. Now the monitoring of that is required before you actually ship it out. It's a completely different requirement. So monitoring depends on what you want to accomplish. And based on that, there are enough sensors. I don't think there's any dearth of sensors today to really put the kind of intelligence into these equipments. And then when these intelligence are already in these equipments, and they can actually go back into the end user installations and also continue to serve for the purpose they were built for.
It's we're coming up on the hour here, so at the risk of going over by just a couple minutes, I'm going to ask each of you just for a closing thought. Just try to keep it to 30 seconds. If you could say one point that you really want the audience to take away with them, as we've been talking about your workforce and skilled labor and automation and the new normal with this COVID world, what would be one final thought you would leave with our audience in terms of how to think about automation in a way that can be helpful to people as they grow their companies to be more efficient? And I'll go in the same order that we did the introduction. So first, Mr. Sanjay, final thought from you, sir.
Yeah, so thanks, guys. I'm saying I had a great session today. I think my clear three things which come to my mind is, one is, I think, look for technologies which are self-adapting. Don't worry about you adapting to technology. Let technologies adapt to you. Look at technologies which can take care of agility, because things are changing very fast. And also look at things, do things at a things which you can do at a fast pace. So speed is important, agility is important, and self-adoption is important.
Beautiful. Three really great short points. Thank you for that. Next, Mr. Veeresh Patil, final thought from you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. So what I would like to tell you, the audience, before today's session. So the digitalization world is growing very, very fast. As you can see, in next 2 or 3 years, the digitalization is going to be 123 billion euros. Let's imagine. So it's going to be very, very big. So what I can say is that it's keep growing gradually, and it's increasing day by day. So any new technologies which can increase the efficiency, bring the more productivity, which is really welcome. And this technology can really help a lot in the future. That any new technologies which is coming in the market, so we can adopt it. So if you're thinking for making the new innovation in the new technologies, you can go ahead and do it, because it's at beginning at the industry 4.0, and it's going to go a long run with the new technologies in the future.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And Mr. Vikas, final thought.
Yeah. So what I think is, I echo somewhat the thoughts which Mr. Srinath mentioned some time back, that please don't get scared by the upfront costs that are involved in scaling up the automation. So there are new means and methods how now these technologies can be adopted and made to run. So the AI and all these technologies are here to stay, and they are getting more and more easier for the industry to adopt. So my final thought would be that that people should, the manufacturing industry should really go further and go for it.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And Mr. Srinath, final thought from you, sir.
So I would think that automation has to be purpose-driven and has to be looking at the present situation as well as the future. Absolutely not something that ignores what the world is going to change around. The best time to automate right now, because you don't have too much of production going on many times, and you may need it in future. So if you're confident about your businesses, your company's performance in future, this is the best time to go and invest and do some things. And if investment is a challenge, then you need to look at partners who can help you through that process.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I'd like to, on behalf of everyone joining us today, thank our panelists once again for a really interesting discussion. We've talked about a lot of topics, from the primary challenges in manufacturing workforce to the major impact that this is going to have on operations, quality inspection, and material handling. We talked about different sectors that are going to be hit, about how companies should think about balancing skilled labor with increased automation, both from a business and a strategic standpoint. We talked a lot about new technologies, particularly around machine vision and visual inspection, as well as supply chain issues. So this has been a really interesting discussion. I wish we had more time. I'll close by saying that we're coming up in the next few months will be the 1-year anniversary of the formation of SMAARC, as well as the 3-year anniversary of Lincode. And I think we're going to be having another big event to honor both of those. If people have any questions, you can follow up to the email where you received the invitation here. I think it's info@smaarc.org, where you can ask any additional questions that weren't answered tonight, or if you want to get involved with SMAARC as a potential partner in the ecosystem, or if you want to connect with any of the panelists further, we'd be happy to connect you. So again, that's info@smaarc.org, SMAARC. Happy 3rd year birthday to Lincode next month. Happy birthday to anyone else in the audience who might have a birthday coming up. And once again, my name is Eric Malice. Really honored to be here, and just a big round of applause for our panelists. I wish you all a very wonderful day and a safe and prosperous future. Thank you so much.
Great. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.